Okay, never recorded. So we'll go with this little begin. So we're in Romans chapter 2. All right, and this is a little review of what we're doing, and so we'll discuss through. It's good anyway, because all our judge, when we talked about all our judge, was that no one has an excuse. Because God revealed himself through nature. And we went through the part where we talked about the logical side of everything. Remember I had the slides everybody's sleeping through? That we did the slides where we're talking about the logical process. If you just think about it logically, there has to be a creator, a designer, and so we call that God. Okay, and so then you're measured by what you judge, and what I put here, law and mercy, because what we started explaining earlier was that we tend to look down on others, even as Christians, and we're assuming that we are righteous and they are not. But the bad thing is we don't even apply this just to other Christians. We don't go, "Oh, that Christian's a bad Christian," so much. We do, but you know what I'm saying. But I'm also talking about we also go to other people who aren't in the church. And we go, well, they shouldn't be doing that because, you know, right? But if you really think about that, when we're doing that, we're really being, we got to be careful because those people don't know the truth.
Yeah. Well,
and we're judging them like they do.
Like they do.
Okay? I bring that up because later when we get into this, we're going to see this played out, how Paul plays it out to the Jews. Okay, judgment is according to the truth. That's the standard that God judges by. Did you violate the law? Did you break the commandment? No other factors involved. Did you do it? Did you fail to do it? And that's it. It's black or white. The goodness of God, though, leads to repentance. That's what Paul says. And he stops in the middle of this. He goes, all this. He goes, but the goodness of God. Now, a lot of times we have to go through all this thing. And James went through a big old dissertation about why we go through suffering and all this kind of stuff. And he explained how it builds us up and all those kind of things. But also, throughout Scripture, God says that I chastise those who I love. And so everything that God has done from creation on, or he says from everlasting to everlasting, is all geared towards showing you mercy. Not judgment, but mercy. God is no respecter of persons. He doesn't care if you're Jewish. He doesn't care if you're Baptist.
Don't care what color you are. He don't care.
Now this is all stuff we already talked about in detail.
He does care.
Well, he doesn't care as far as
don't make a difference.
What's the grounds that he's judging you on.
Right.
He didn't say, well, we're going to look at the law, but Baptists are exempt from the law.
Like society says today.
Right?
He doesn't play favorites.
You know.
Exactly. He doesn't play favorites.
Right. You know.
All right. And so which brings us down to here, that only doers of the law are justified. That's found here in verse 13, I think it is. Yes, verse 13 says, for not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. And then he goes in to explain some of the things that we've already discussed. He says, for when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things which are contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves. What does that mean? Anybody? Idea?
Pretty much created their own law.
I'm sorry?
They pretty much created their own law.
Well, they created the law. There's a law that's written in the hearts of men by God already.
You know, I'm not a Jew. What I grew up with the 10 Commandments.
Oh no, we're talking about not before, even before that.
Well,
what you would have had is it okay to murder someone for no reason?
No. Thou shalt not kill.
See, there didn't need to be a law on that.
No.
But because you validate it, that validates the law.
So
That means that you know better.
it's morals. Moral.
Right? Moral law.
Moral.
Okay?
Yeah.
And so, in doing that, this is something we should also understand, is that moral law is still applicable even to Christians.
Well,
Okay? So when God says be obedient,
Be obedient.
be obedient. The moral law still applies. It's still not okay to murder just because you can be forgiven by Jesus.
That's right.
Okay?
Jesus is not your judge.
Yeah, it is.
Or his, no.
The Word
He
is
shows
still the
us-
judge.
He shows us mercy.
Right.
But he's got our back when we're judged before God.
Well, he paid that penalty.
He paid that
But
penalty.
that doesn't mean it makes him happy.
That's right. If
To
you
have
kill
to
somebody,
sin.
you're still gonna go to jail.
Right? So here's the thing. So that's what he's saying here, is that this is law. Even though they didn't have the law, they have a law that's written in their hearts. They know really what right and wrong is. Now there's some fringes, right? Some gray fringes they may not agree with on stuff. They don't know the ceremony for going and getting clean and all this kind of stuff. But they know what's right and wrong. Okay? Which show the work of the law written in their hearts, see?
yeah.
Their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. What does that mean?
Which,
Judging or excusing.
No,
their conscience also.
their conscience.
Their inner thoughts.
Yeah. you're
Right? They have a conscience.
Yeah.
That's how deeply rooted this natural moral law is that God has given us. Is your conscience will convict you even though there's not a written law that they can point to.
Yeah.
And it also testifies against them or for them. Or they have to make an excuse to get away with it, right?
Yeah.
So now it's not like, well, I didn't murder them, I accidentally chopped their head off, whatever, you know.
Didn't mean to
Right? They were just in the way, and right? Or whatever, or they justify it.
Yeah.
Right? Well, I murdered him, yeah, but here's what they did.
Well, he walked out in front
They
of my
deserved
car.
it.
Because, yeah.
Right? I mean, if someone were to get, if your child was getting in an accident and someone else killed them, you would want justice for that.
Yes.
Some people, justice is different than your deal of justice. And they may think, well, that person shouldn't live because they took my child's life. Right?
Taking his
Some-
life won't
No
bring him
matter,
back.
I'm talking about the person
Yeah.
excusing themselves.
Right.
Some use the Bible
Yep.
for that. The eye for an eye.
Oh yeah, the eye for an eye, tooth
Yeah.
for a tooth.
They don't read the whole thing.
Does it say in the Bible, eye for eye, tooth for tooth?
It does say that, but this is a
There's
deal.
more
But
to
here's the thing is that when people use that, it's like Carol was saying, is that they pervert that.
Right.
The actual doctrine behind that is that the punishment should equal the crime. You've heard
Should
that
be-
before, right?
exactly.
Not exceed it.
Exactly.
And it doesn't mean that you can't show mercy.
Well, then they take it to the next step of life for life.
Well, and a lot of old scripture does have that. And that's what I'm saying is that, but that is to make sure, here's the thing is, and
we still know that
you
it's
still
not
see
right.
it in culture today.
But we still know it's not right. We know, even if my child, if someone took my son's life,
Yeah.
yes, I would probably think bad thoughts and want to do something, but I know in my heart it's not right to take his life. Yeah, that's not right either. You know,
Right.
Right, and so you
No.
still have to make the excuse. Thank you, you're staying on topic.
Yeah.
But let me address this other deal though with the
Sorry.
with the doctor. No, you're great. It's great to
Two
pull it back.
wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, I mean,
So the deal is this doctrine of eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The punishment should match the crime means that you should not exceed it. Listen, it still happens today. What do you think this, in recent history, the Hatfields and McCoys?
Oh, yeah.
Right. Oh,
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay, somebody wrongs someone, and they, I'm going to get you back, and they
It's
keep
just
going back and forth and growing, and
The
and
entire
the whole
family.
family's getting wiped out.
Yep.
yeah. For
And
something
that's
that
the
happened-
reason why we have the laws and the doctrines that say eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth, right? And that's it. Once the penalty's paid for, it's paid for.
It's just continuing. Don't
That would be like God, and I think later here it says it, about the righteousness, when someone is righteousness, their blessings for being righteous are passed on to children.
Yeah.
and their children's children. And that's an awesome thing. But the judgment isn't.
It stops with
It stops with whoever did the offense.
Yeah.
The penalty is paid one way or the other, whether it's through Jesus Christ or they pay the penalty and take on the wrath of God. That is paid, and it stops right there.
Should.
And it should. That's justice. And that's what that law is about, justice. Not, okay, well you took my house, so I'm going to get yours, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
Justice, not revenge.
Yeah, revenge. That's a good word, revenge, not revenge.
You hit me, I'm gonna stab you.
Right.
No.
So let's get back onto our topic. All right. So, so which shew the works of the law in their hearts, their conscience also being witness, and their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. All right. In the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to all of my gospel. And so we'll see here, let me find where I'm at on these. There's two things we see in this one right here though, right? What we just kind of went over, and with everything else back behind it, is that both Jews and Gentiles are judged.
Yeah.
By the law. Whether they know the law or not. Okay? Because God says that you do know the law. He can't judge you by a standard if you don't know the standard.
Right.
He says, but you do know the standards, are written in your heart. Before, at the beginning, he started off saying, you can't say there is no God because I've laid out the evidence before you. And now he's saying, you can't say there is no law because it's written in your heart. So you're held accountable. You got it, John? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And so the next thing,
Can't see it from the reflection.
what we want to see is the point we're just bringing it in. This is going to be your point 7.
Number 7.
All right. And let me get a book where I can write it out. It's going, oh. I got it written a bit differently, but I'll do this way. God judges secrets. I'm going to say secrets.
Huh.
Things that are hidden.
Secrets. Yes.
That only we know personally.
That you know personally.
Oh.
But no one else knows.
Because he's all knowing.
Talk about secret sin.
Would that be your thoughts?
Okay, verse 16 says, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ, according to my gospel. What did you do with Jesus Christ? What do you really believe?
Oh.
What things do you hide? You see, because we could put on this whole thing, because we're fixing to get into a really good discussion about hypocrisy. And Paul's kind of getting ready to get into that. And he's saying, you know what, even the things that no one else knows, your secret life, your secret desires, those are going to be judged also.
So that's why my question was, is there our personal thoughts and what's really in our heart?
Yeah, what's really in your heart. And also, do you really believe in Jesus? And all kinds of people walk around confessing and say, oh yeah, I believe Jesus. And then if you start asking really what you believe about Jesus, which is the way I often start a lot of times when I talk to people, I'll go, hey, do you believe? I assume they've heard about Jesus if they're here in America. And so my question is, do you believe in Jesus? And they go, most of them are going to say yes. I go, oh, well, what do you believe about him? Can you tell me? So, and then trying to put them to they start doing the hymn hall. Because everybody wants to say just the right thing. so that you'll leave them alone, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and they want to say just the right thing, and then if you go, well, and then they go, oh, well, that's not, you know, then they start going, okay, that's not what I believe, blah, 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 blah. And then you get into the truth. Now, chances are, unless they're a total stranger, but if you've been around them for more than a week, co-worker, doing whatever, right, you already know really what they believe upon Jesus because of the way they act.
By their actions, yeah.
Okay? But some people are good at hiding and lying to themselves. Paul says those secret things are going to be judged. The intentions of your heart. Jesus himself said that. What a man, as a man is in his heart. That's how he is, that's how he's going to get judged. So we can put on, though, the whitewash, right? We can paint the picket fence. But inside, if the wood's rotten, it's still going to crumble. It's going to burn.
Yes.
It's going to thrown into the fire.
Exactly.
That's what you do with rotten wood, right? You burn it, you get rid of it. Okay? And so that's what's going to happen. And that's what this verse is talking about. There is no escaping. What we're getting to is, remember this, he's building this argument, a solid argument about, you know what, Jew or not, you know what I'm saying? Well, how other people see you, if they think you're the best person in the world, God's going to judge you for who you really are, and you will be judged.
That's scary.
According to the standard that's laid out, which is already written in your heart, and it's written in the Scriptures.
That's scary, isn't it, to think about.
And there is no exception. That's what he's saying. And that's the way probably we need to preach more and tell people about sin more.
Yeah.
It's just tell them the truth. Look, I don't care what you believe, but the truth is, when you die, you will be at judgment. And he's not going to judge by what you think. He's going to judge by the standard that's written. Just like our court's supposed to do. They go to the law when you go for the judge, right?
Yeah.
You get a speeding ticket and you decide you're going to fight and you go to court, and they go, well, this officer pulled you over here, says you're going this fast, in this zone right here. Were you doing that? Well, yes, but were you doing it?
Yes.
Well, I was in a hurry. Well, were you doing it?
Yes.
Well, my child, were you doing this? Yes. Okay, fine.
Just say
That's all that
yes.
matters.
Well, they don't need an excuse why.
Exactly. And so that's where we're at. So God judges on the secret things. Turn to Proverbs 21:2.
Proverbs. Really? What did you say?
Proverbs 21:2.
21:2.
Go ahead.
Every way, start over. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the hearts. He knows.
You see that?
Yeah,
See, a man's heart can fool himself.
that's right. He knows.
I mean, we know this because we got into this thing a few years back where we started doing all this privilege stuff.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right? Now, that was a bad thing. They're doing it the wrong way. But part of that parlay is true. There are people who, just because of where they're from, how much money they have, they assume that they have certain things that they're able to do and get away with and not have to worry about it. And they assume that that's just right. That it's okay. There are people like that. But there are people like that in our spiritual life too, or spiritual sense. They think, well, you know, I'm doing what's right before God. You remember that one of the young man came to Jesus and he told him, Jesus, what do I got to do to be saved? And he said, well, you need to keep the law of Moses. And he says, well, I do. I keep everything. He goes, okay, now sell everything and come follow me.
That's what it's
He's like,
he said everything, I mean, everything I need to
okay, well, so the young man thought that he was doing everything right, and he was. Jesus didn't say, no, you're not. But what Jesus saw was in his heart.
Yeah.
He says, you got something else that's keeping you from God, and you need to let it go. And the young man couldn't do that. So, Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Oop, I'm going to go that backwards. Ecclesiastes chapter 12,
Right after Proverbs.
13 and 14.
Chapter 12, 13, and 14,
Verses 13 and 14. Chapter 12,
verses
verses
13.
13 and 14.
Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Wow, that's the whole duty
For
of
God
man.
shall bring, bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil.
Wow. So God just doesn't go, well, he's a good guy because he gives to the poor. Let's let him in.
Yeah, no.
Hey, he doesn't go, on the scales of judgment. You got the little baskets there.
Excuse me.
Right, you got the scale going off. He doesn't go, he had this much good and that much bad, so yeah, he's mostly good. We'll let him.
That's a check.
Right? He doesn't do that.
No.
He judges. And the only thing he's looking for is what? Let's go back to this one.
Oh.
Did you violate the law? Not how many times,
Right.
just once.
Yes, that's all it takes.
That's all it is. Just one. So the wise man, he says here, hey, this guy fears God because he is judge. He is God. It's his standard, not yours. And it's uncompromising. And he has the ability to destroy the soul. Wow. Fear God. And keep the law. Stay within the boundaries.
Right.
Put that fear of God to use. Fear and obey. Now, we're not into the gospel yet. You understand that?
Right.
Yes.
Paul's establishing the need for Jesus Christ. All right. Matthew 25.
Does that go with this verse or not? Yeah. I mean, this number 7?
Yep. Matthew 25. Oh, where are we at? 31 through 33.
31 through 33.
Oh, plenty of time. We got plenty of time.
Matthew 25, 31 through 33. Yes.
Yeah, whoever wants to read.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from goats. 33. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on his left.
Now we start to get a little bit into the gospel, right? But what's Jesus explaining here?
The goats are on the left.
Better to be a sheep than a goat.
He's on the right hand.
There are sheep and goats, but what's he explaining here?
Oh, well, that,
When the Son of Man shall come
Well, Jesus is on
in
the
his
right.
glory.
Jesus is on the right hand of God, right?
Jesus has the right hand of God because he has authority.
Yes.
So,
Okay.
and the sheep he took on the right hand.
Right?
So I would think that that would be, the goats are being on the left hand side, being judged for not being good.
For not being righteous.
Righteous. I mean, because the sheep are on the right hand side with Jesus, where he's at. I don't know if that's right, but
So in Scripture, it tells us that God the Father tells God the Son, that you are good and well-pleasing. Come and sit down at my right hand
Yes.
until I turn your enemies into your footstool. Now Jesus is saying I'm going to come in my glory. This glory he received from God the Father, right hand. I'm going to come in my glory, which is his authority. I'm coming in my glory, and then I am going to separate the wool, or the wolves, the sheep and the lambs. Or excuse me, goats and the sheep. Okay? I'm going to divide out what belongs to me and put aside what doesn't. Jesus said this.
Yes.
And so sometimes we don't understand it, we don't get that deal that Jesus says, as John was saying, he is going to be the judge. He is.
He is.
And if you look at this verse, all nations will be gathered there.
Yes, everybody. All of it.
There is not a single one that will not be accounted for as either being sheep or goat.
I don't think I want to be a goat.
Nope.
All right?
No.
John chapter 3, verse 16 through 21.
What?
John.
Oh,
He wouldn't call
Matthew,
your
Mark,
name.
Luke, John.
I thought you was calling my name, sir.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, John.
This is important doctrine right here that, as y'all know, I keep hitting over and over again because that's how important it is.
John 3:16.
Chapter 3.
Fingers full today.
Remember, the root verse what we're talking about for this in Romans,
16.
let me find it again,
Was it 17, 16?
when it says, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men, and listen, because we just did this last verse in Matthew, by Jesus Christ, according to his gospel. Go ahead, read the gospel.
For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believe in him shall not perish, but have everlasting life. For God sent not his Son unto the world to condemn the world, but the world through him might be saved. He that believeth in him is not condemned, but he that believeth not is condemned already, because he hath not believed in the name of the only begotten Son of God. And this, the condemnation, that light has come into the world, and men loved darkness rather than light, because of their deeds were evil. For everyone that doeth evil haveth the light, neither cometh to the light, lest his deeds shall be reproved. But he that doeth the truth cometh to the light, that his deeds may be made manifest, that they are wrought in God.
All right. So, someone give me a synopsis of what the gospel is, according to Jesus. Not the gospel according to John, not the gospel according to Matthew, not Paul's gospel. What's Jesus' gospel?
That he's the only light. He is
the light.
Yeah, he's the only light. Well, and if we deny that Jesus is the light,
Jesus puts limitations on the gospel himself. So did Jesus say, I'm going to save everybody?
Nope.
No.
Does he say, I want to save everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Wants to.
He says, I want to save everybody because my Father wants to save everybody. And so this is what we've done. The Father gave His Son, me, for your sin, for your judgment. Right? According now, the judgment, okay, according to the truth. Did you violate? Yes.
So Jesus had to go to the cross.
Yeah, because the law had to be satisfied.
Yes.
Because now He's taking on your sin, not His.
Not his.
So He takes this on, yes. Which is an immediate conviction, right? Actually, it's a conviction that was put in almost from the very beginning. When was this conviction put on? In the garden.
Oh,
In the garden,
right.
yeah.
When
In the garden. What did God tell Adam?
Do not eat of the
If you eat, you die.
Don't eat of the tree.
Right.
And so now that penalty is being paid for. The ultimate penalty, the spiritual death, is being paid for. Okay? So, that penalty and every other penalty from that point on is being paid for, all at once. But there are some stipulations in this. Jesus said, I came so that you might live, but if you reject that, there's no hope for you. Nothing. And why do men reject Jesus?
Because they want to live the way they want to. They don't want to have to answer to anybody and not give up their,
Yes, you're doing great.
whatever they're doing. Can't get the right word out, but
Jesus said it's disobedience.
yeah.
He said it's not really because men don't believe.
Because they don't want to give
He
up.
said because they make a choice.
Yeah.
They don't want to be held accountable. They don't want to be obedient to God.
That's where in Romans 1.
I'm sorry?
In Romans 1 where he handed them over, he just gave them up to their own.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're over to death. Right? If that's where you want to go over to your sin.
Yeah.
I'm not going to fight for your love and affection. I've already died for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like whenever you're in a, I don't know if you're young or not, but you, I know you were young at one time. When you were young, and you maybe had this little, what do you call those, whatever you like, a crush on someone, right? And so you're trying to, hunt them, right? And you're like, being around and doing everything for them, whatever, and they're like, oh, okay, whatever, whatever. But eventually they just, they never do respond in a way
Yeah.
for you to, feel that affection back. Because, they don't want it. No matter what you do for them. And so that's, a same kind of thing that Jesus is like, I'm not going to hunt you down. I've showed you my love and my affection, and if you want it, then it's here. If you don't, well, you're free to go and not have it.
That's why we have free will.
Okay? But he says in there also, he goes, I'm not condemning you.
You condemn yourself.
Well, you're already condemned.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
My job isn't to come here to condemn you, it was to save you from that condemnation that you're already in. So when you reject, remember this, law and mercy. When you reject the mercy that's given you, there's nothing left but what?
The law.
The law. And that's what Jesus himself says. So you'll either be obedient to the gospel, or you'll be obedient to the law, or judged by either one. So you'll be judged first by the law. Did you do this? And then you're judged by mercy. Did you believe on Jesus? Were you obedient to him? And if you were, well, bless God. If you weren't, then the only thing you have left is the penalty of the law. Black and white. Simple. People complicate things too much.
Yep.
It really is simple, if you think about it like that
It's
way.
not rocket science.
Yeah.
You either
To
do or
some
you don't.
Huh?
To some, it's rocket science.
So,
They rewrite the Bible and everything.
right.
Yeah, I mean,
So the next portion of this, I'm debating upon if I want to get into it. We really don't discuss really one verse in this whole thing. You know what I'm saying? Maybe, the next portion is 17 through 29. And it really goes through a really good thing about hypocrisy.
Same work, chapter 4.
Chapter 2.
To Romans 2.
Chapter 2 in Romans.
Way back in Romans,
I think we can make heads or tails of it. So we're going to move on. Since I think does anyone else have anything they want to say about this section that we've already discussed here? All right. I think if anything, we got a better description of what Paul's trying to say and what the need for the gospel is. Now he's going to go into a different area.
you said through 29? Yes.
Yeah. So I'm just going to read this as we go, because we are a little short. Behold, thou art called a Jew, and resteth in the law, and make thy boast of God, and knowing his will, and approveth the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law, and are confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them to them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, teachers of babes, which hast a form of knowledge of truth, and the truth. Thou therefore, which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? Thou that preachest man should not steal, dost thou steal? And then he goes into a little more dialogue in here, reinforcing the point that he just made. The point that he just made is what I want to look at. So in Romans 2, chapter 17 through, chapter 2, verse 17 through 21, what he's talking about here specifically, because he's addressing the Jews, of course, because he says, you call yourself a Jew.
Yeah.
And he's talking about hypocrisy, which Jesus talked a lot about for the Jews, for the Pharisees, Sadducees, those kind of things. He called them what? Whitewashed graves.
Call them what?
Whitewashed graves. Right, the sepulchres. On the outside, they're all clean and white, looking all holy.
Not on the
On the inside, they're not. So, Paul feels the need to go through and address this issue specifically. He's already kind of hit up on general stuff. He hit up on the Gentiles. He started hitting on the Jews. And now he's going to get more specific, because there's some Jews, same as there are some others of us. Some of us Baptists, right, who think just because we're Baptists that we're good to go and no one else is going to heaven.
That's not right.
Now we know that's not true, because the Baptist, being a Baptist and being baptized itself isn't what saves you. Okay? So I got to make some points that I observed on here. And first he says, you know, you guys, you rest in the law. What does that mean?
Are you hungry, God?
I shouldn't be.
What does that mean?
Resting in the law?
Resting in the law.
That means they think they're...
Just because they're not breaking the law, they're...
What does it take to rest?
just to let go.
If you're going to lay down and sleep or relax,
Just
what do
have
you
to relax and let go.
relax.
Okay, so you're relaxed. Well, how are you able to relax?
You don't have to look over your shoulder.
You need security,
Security.
Oh, secure.
right?
Oh.
You need to feel secure.
Yeah.
And he's saying, so you think you're secure in the law? They think that the law is redemption. Got that?
Yeah.
Don't worry, we've got the law. We're good to go. Okay? And you boast on your knowledge of God. It's okay. We've got the law, and we know God. He chose us. We're His chosen people. You see these points?
Little Harvey.
We have it there.
Then he said that we approve.
They have what?
We approve.
They approve.
They approve,
Oh,
right? If you approve of something,
then they're good to go.
no, if you approve of something, if Carol says, I'm going to do this, I go, yeah, good,
Okay.
I approve, that's good.
Yeah.
What am I doing?
Agreeing with?
I'm agreeing, right? So I agree. They're agreeing with God. Hey, what you say is right. Your law, your God, it's your way. We're covenanting with that. You made a covenant with us, we agree with the covenant. Okay? So, and because of that, they are instructors. Again, an elevated position. Hey, we are instructing, well, who? The foolish, right? Oh, excuse me, I'm sorry. First we're instruct out of the law. What's that mean?
You said out of the law?
Out of the law.
So teaching things that aren't.
Oh, you said the word right there. Teaching
Oh.
the law. So they not only have the law, they teach others what the law says. Can you see how this might eventually start getting you in trouble? I mean, they're using all this as justification for while they're saved. God, through Paul right now, the Holy Spirit, is showing them why they're not saved.
Because their hearts are wrong?
Because their hearts are wrong, despite all the things right here that they're doing right, or supposed to be doing right. Okay? They have knowledge, understanding.
Right.
Okay?
I mean, they know.
And they are a guide to the blind.
Mm-hmm.
That means that they lead others who can't see the truth. They're supposed to be leading them to God. And because of that, then they are a light in the darkness. That's what we're supposed to be, right? We get, see, all these things that I want you to understand, all the things he's convicting the Jews of, we have the same problem.
I was just thinking that we're no better than them.
Because we're so enlightened. We rest, of course, we rest in the gospel, thank God.
Yeah.
Right? We rest in the blood. That's one good thing. It can nullify the rest of this. But we have knowledge of God that other people don't have. We agree with God and what the book says. Especially as a Baptist, that's what we preach, right?
Yep.
Yes.
We instruct others on who Jesus is, who God is. We are a guide to the blind and a light in the darkness. We're actually called to be that. Be a light. Okay? So all these things are Jews. That's the same thing with us. Instructor of the foolish. Oops. Instructor of the foolish. So, we're supposed to take people who don't know and instruct them in what we do know. They're foolish, not because they're dumb, but because they do foolishness, because they don't have wisdom. Wisdom is knowledge of God.
They know not to do that.
I'm sorry?
It's because they don't know what they're doing.
They don't know what to do because they haven't been
Forgive
taught.
them, for they know not what
No,
to do.
a lot of times we call that ignorance, right?
Ignorance.
But that's the truth. But their ignorance leads to foolishness
Yes.
because they don't know better. That's why we have to be careful when it goes back to the judging of others, is that we are supposed to instruct them in wisdom, not condemn them for foolishness. Okay? And we are teachers of babes. Now should be really of babes.
Children?
Yes, children. Why do you think so many pastors go around my children?
Yes.
How do you think when we first started these classes, this series, when I came here, I said, look, you're eating down here this milk stuff and we're going to get you up
Yeah, to the meat and
to the
potatoes.
meat and potatoes. And sometimes it is a little overwhelming. But the good doctrine is what you need, the strong doctrine. Okay?
We need it.
We need it. Like this great thing that Paul is doing with giving us a real description of why you need Jesus. Because you need to be able to teach others, teach the babes. Instead of, why did Jesus die? Before your sin. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Can you answer that? Right? Okay, and this, we have knowledge of the law.
Did I write that down already? No?
Knowledge of the law. This is all the conviction that Paul's doing. So Paul takes all this. Jews, you are wonderful. You are great. I'm talking Christian. You are wonderful. You are great.
But, hypocrite.
Yeah.
You hypocrite.
Hypocrite.
And how
You
many-
know these things and you don't live by them. You are a hypocrite.
And how many people today call us a
And that's
hypocrite?
including the gospel.
People today call us a hypocrite because of, I'm not talking about just us, but I mean
Yeah.
the Christians as a whole because of what we do
Right.
and say.
And that's the next part in there too.
You're
Goes,
supposed to be.
you defame God.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the next part of this.
Yes.
Where was you at? So he goes on to say, thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law, dishonest thou God. For the name of God, and here it is, Dana, is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you,
As it is written.
as it is written. So you are, yes, 100% correct. Other people see you, or have seen enough of you, us,
Yes.
to know that we're all hypocrites.
Yeah.
You say you love Jesus.
Okay?
You
Part of
say-
that is, though, is the ignorance that they operate on, assuming that anyone who goes to church, especially Baptists have a bad reputation,
Sure.
right, for being, strict, and yet, going out and being in bars on Saturday night, showing back up on Sunday with their whitewashed clothes on, right? A little bit of alcohol residue smelling in their breath, but covering it with cologne, and we're good to go. But Paul says other people see that,
Yes.
and they don't know that you're not perfect. They only know that you profess to be perfect. They don't know that you're still working through a forgiven state.
Right.
They instead think that you don't need to be forgiven. And so that answer, that's the same image the Jews had. And we shouldn't have that kind of image.
No.
And so when we take the gospel of Jesus Christ to people, we need to not only just be sincere in how we deliver it, but our intentions for it, but in our life to prove it.
And live it.
Yeah, we need to live it. Does it mean we're not going to sin? No. It means that we do what the Lord said, as we confess it, and He's faithful and just to forgive. But we do need to have an honest and earnest, right, a genuine affection towards God, and really seek Him all the time. And that will minimize our opportunities for temptation. Right? Because Paul, so let's think of Paul, he also tells us that
Excuse me.
temptation, might be James. Anyway, but temptation is not God tempting us, right? When we fall into temptation. It's not the devil,
It's yourself.
it's our own heart
Right.
that's tempting us. And when we succumb to that temptation, we enter into sin. But it's all our choice. That's why people go, oh, I couldn't help it. You know, I'm just got that sinful nature. Well, yes, you do. But you know what you also have? You have and this is why you have to have a mature spiritual walk and Christian mind. And choose. Be obedient to the gospel. And it will make you obedient to the law. Right? So you're not trying to do the law and get to the gospel. You're doing the gospel and just doing the gospel itself, believe upon Jesus Christ, being obedient to His commandments, then you will fulfill the whole law. That's what Jesus said. Love the Lord your God and love one another. That fulfills the whole law. So that's where we're at. I'm going to be late.